Hi, I'm going to be describing the lesson plan that I wrote for goods and services, and it was for third grade. And the standards that I hit was for history, the economics strand, and then for the reading standard was key ideas in detail, and that was for third grade. Um, what I taught about was listed as goods and services, and I started the lesson out with a Kahoots game. The Kahoots game was a strategy that I used to assess them before we began the lesson, so I could assess their background knowledge of any academic vocabulary that they may have already known. And then I went into introducing them to goods and services by academic vocabulary strategy. And what I did was I played this YouTube video. I'll just go ahead and click on it so you can see what it was. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them to those vocabulary words that they did to hear. And then they gave them something that they were able to talk about. Just a moment to give you a quick look here.
Or a service. A good is something you can touch with your hands.
So here's explaining to them what a good is.
A skateboard
and then gives
is
images.
a good. It's something you can buy. You can choose as a good. It's something you can touch.
But also later on during the video,
What about
it kind
this
of
one?
tests them.
A
So it
bicycle.
shows pictures.
A bicycle is a...
So it shows pictures of different objects, and it's either a good or a service. And then at that point, when it gets to this part of the video, I stop them, and then I have the class do a talk so they can discuss before the answer is given whether they think it's a good or service. And then after that activity, we go into if you give a mouse a cookie. And this is a book. You could either read the book, or I have a link here for the read aloud that you can have them listen to. But this is a reading strategy that I used. And the activity that we did was we were making a T-chart with the new words that we just learned in that introduction YouTube video. And if you give mouse a cookie, it lists several things that the mouse would want. And then the person would either be doing a good or a service. And then we would just talk about that as a class and then chart it on a T-chart. And then also towards the end of the lesson, after we've discussed it, we watched videos, we read a book, I would give them an exit ticket to assess their reading strategy. And I have the link here that you can take a look at it. The exit ticket would be for them to complete independent, just so they could not work on a whole class activity. And it will show you one side has goods, one side has services, and then it has pictures that they could cut out and use and put in the right category. And that would help me assess the lesson. Some assessment tools that I use, like I mentioned in the beginning, we did a Kahoots game. And that Kahoots was a pre-assessment. So it was to observe students' understanding of the academic language, like buyer, sellers, goods, services, and exchange, all that kind of language that you need to understand about the market. This allowed me to tailor my lesson according to the background knowledge of the students. And what the Kahoots game is, it's like listed on the board, and then they get to vote what they think it is. So I'll be able to have an overall percentage of the class knowledge. And then we have a formative assessment. My formative assessment was the exit ticket. It allowed me to get an accurate gauge on who comprehended today's lesson, and that data will be used to address any misconceptions and reteach the lesson if necessary. And then I have the summative assessment, which is a unit interim. This interim is just a big overall test of the whole unit that we've learned. thus far, and this is to assess students' mastery of the topic at the end of a unit. The mastery percentage will allow me to determine what I need to tweak in my future lesson plans. The reading strategies, it was the pre-reading was the word detective, and what that was, it's to show me prior knowledge of academic language and introduction to new words. So the pre-reading one could have been during the Cahoots game to assess them during that, but also it was during the YouTube video that we watched that introduced them to the vocabulary, and then they did turn and talk to discuss it before the answer was given. And then we have the during reading. The during reading strategy was to fill out the T-chart. As we were reading, we were charting new words and categorizing them, either goods or services, and having them giving me their comprehension skills of what they learned. And then post-reading strategy was the exit ticket. The strategy was used they had to sort on their own and put them in the right category. The reading materials and the websites for goods and services. The book, as I mentioned, was If You Give a Mouse a Cookie by Laura Numeroff. I listed the link on the PowerPoint, but also you could either use the physical book if you were teaching the lesson. And then the website is there listed, and I played a quick view of it. It's the YouTube video of goods and services. And then the standards that were met, as I mentioned, was reading, key ideas and details. It is ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of a text, which we did when I read the book. We charted as a class on the T-chart, and they were answering questions and demonstrating their understanding of the book. And then referring to the text as a basis for their answers, which they did. The other standard met was the economic strand. The topic was markets. The content statement was a market is where buyers and sellers exchange goods and services. So they were able to define goods and services and be able to defer which is a good and which is a service. And that is all I have for you.